Right. So, yes, I am here to talk a little bit about our Voice of the Employee program at Foundever. But before I take you on that journey, I first want to just talk you through a little bit about Foundever, provide you a little bit of context about who we are and what we do. So, we are a customer experience provider. So, we are working behind many of the world's biggest household brands. So, what this means in practical terms is if you phone up a customer service line to chase up an online order that hasn't been delivered, if you are chatting with an agent on a website to get some more information, if you're emailing in a customer complaint, then chances are you're coming through to one of our agents. And we have 150,000 associates around the world in 45 countries, speaking 60 languages. And one of the numbers that always blows my mind is that we are delivering over 9 million customer experiences every single day. So that is 9 million opportunities to make or break somebody's day. And we've all been there and felt the joy and relief when our issue or concern is resolved really quickly and effectively. And we've all felt that frustration and anxiety and stress when things aren't getting resolved, and we feel like we're being passed from department to department. So we have a pretty awesome responsibility at Foundever to those customers, those 9 million interactions every single day, and of course to the 150,000 people around the world that we are employing. So our mantra is the associate experience is the customer experience. And I think that's something that we all hear a lot, and all organizations, or at least most organizations, will say their people are the most important part. The people are their greatest asset. And at Foundever, I think we feel a real sense of importance and urgency around this point, because we are not reaching our customers through a physical product. It's not through the latest smartphone, through clothes or cosmetics, but our product is in fact this moment of connection between two people, the customer that really needs our help and care and support, and the associate that is providing that support. So the question is, of course, how on earth do we begin to craft an experience for 150,000 people in 45 countries speaking multiple languages? And how do we stay agile and responsive to the changing needs and desires and wants of our people? And it really starts with our Voice of the Employee program. That is the very foundation of everything that we do and the way that we work at Foundever and the way that we want to work at Foundever. So our internal Voice of the Employee program, we call it MAX, so My Associate Experience. And it's very simple in that we listen and we act. Those are the two pillars of our program. And the listening part, we have a number of global listening tools that we use to gather feedback and insights and ideas from our people. But the challenge that we have, and I'm sure many of you experience as well, is with how we act on that feedback. That is the part that is the most difficult to execute and deliver on. And that's really the bit that I wanted to dig in a little bit deeper with you today and share some of what we're doing at Foundever. We haven't cracked the code. We're still learning and experimenting, but I'm really proud of some of the stuff that we're doing, and I hope that you will find some interesting ideas and inspiration within that. So the first or the biggest problem that we are trying to solve in our listening program when we're acting on employee feedback is me. And by me, I mean our individual leader and manager in the process. And I'm not here to talk down our leaders and our managers who are all trying to do great things and with really good and great intentions. But maybe if I talk through my own experience to illustrate this point. So before I moved into the role that I'm in today, I was an HR manager for some of our locations in the UK. And there are so many projects and initiatives and rollouts that I was part of, led, responsible for, that never really achieved anything, that never moved the needle on anything. And there's a specific example that always comes to mind that I talk about often, where me and some of the leadership team at the time created a whole engagement framework in response to some feedback we had in an employee survey. And the feedback was about our associates not feeling valued, not feeling like a statistic, feeling like a number, not feeling like an individual in our business. So we spent months creating an entire engagement framework about how to do one-to-ones, team meetings, reward and recognition, how to celebrate milestones. And the impact of this engagement framework was absolutely zero. And after months and months of work, it disintegrated pretty quickly. And the problem was that at no point when we were putting together this framework did we speak to a single employee to understand what it is that they wanted. We had identified the problem in the survey feedback, but we didn't take any time to really understand, well, what is it that our people want? What would help them to feel valued and seen and motivated and part of the organization? And at no point did we validate any of the work that we were doing with our associates to say, this is what we think might help. What do you think? Is this solving the problem? Does this resonate? Does this work for you? And so that is really the problem that we are trying to solve with our Voice of the Employee program. And we are very lucky at Foundever that we have 150,000 experts that we can call on to solve these problems, to design new experiences, to create great products. And each one of our associates is an expert in their own experience, an expert in the interactions and transactions that they have every day. And so it's really about, how do we harness this collective intelligence? How can we crowdsource all of the ideas and innovation and co-create with our people to actually deliver impactful solutions when they tell us something isn't working? And that is where, in my opinion, things get really exciting. And this is where our mission process comes in. So it's part of Max, our Associate Experience Program, and it is something that we have been developing for the last 5 years. So it launched in 2019. And when we first launched this program, we launched it without any kind of technology, but with the desire to really co-create with our people, to make them part of the design of solutions and the implementation of solutions. And I think this is where things are different, certainly in how we operate internally, but I think different from many VOE programs, because we are going that step further. We're getting the feedback from our people, but instead of, as a leadership team, a management team, we're going off into a side room and spending weeks and months developing something and then launching it out completely fresh. We are taking our end user, our associates, on the journey and co-designing and co-creating the solution with them. So what does that actually look like? What do we mean by max missions? So we've now got to a point where we have a technical solution that helps to support this, which means we can scale it very quickly and effectively across our global organization. And it's basically a way to advertise opportunities for our associates to help co-create with us. So a classic example is redesigning the onboarding process. So we have feedback from associates that the onboarding perhaps isn't where it needs to be. Our data shows that people aren't reaching performance levels quick enough, that they don't feel as engaged in the early part of their employment. And so we want to redesign that onboarding experience. So our old approach would have been, okay, HR team, L&D team, we're off to spend a few months, maybe 6 months, 8 months, redesigning this whole process. Through Max Missions, we will put this out to our global workforce. We will say, you've told us you want us to improve the onboarding process. So now we're inviting you to come and help us to do that. And so our missions can be a range of activities, and they are built on design thinking and UX framework. So it could be participating in a more targeted survey. And surveys are an easy way to get a lot of people involved and get a lot of feedback very quickly. But it could also be participating in one-to-one interviews. It can be joining workshops to redesign a part of the experience. So we've got the feedback from surveys, from one-to-one interviews, from forums, and now we want to start to build the solution. And our associates can be part of building that solution with us. They can participate in user tests and prototype testing. So if, for example, through this onboarding initiative, we determine that we need an onboarding app, then our associates will help us to design that app along with our IT and software teams. And they'll also be part of testing that app. So before we go live with it, before it becomes part of our process, we're going to test it with associates, and they can explore the app, give feedback, tell us, does it have the right information, the right navigation? Can they find things easily? And we continue to iterate on that process. And so these missions can be global in scope or they can be local in scope. So we can push something out for every associate around the world to see. They can go to our mission page in the intranet. They can look through the missions that are open and choose to participate in the activities or the projects that they are personally excited about or they feel they can contribute to, and they can register to participate. And we can also do some audience targeting. So we can be very specific, because some of these missions will be specific to a country. They may be specific to a functional group, to a client that we support. And so we can target those mission adverts to particular groups as well. So not everyone sees everything, but only the missions that would be relevant to them. And they can register, participate, earn points. And it's a way for people to be actively involved in the whole process from start to finish. And some of these pictures that you're seeing on screen are pictures from our co-creation events, from our workshops. We do some in person, and there's nothing better than getting in a room full of people with lots of sticky notes and generating lots of ideas and voting and prioritizing on them. And we can also run these events virtually as well. And we use Miro, which is a virtual whiteboard where people can collaborate. And the brilliant thing about this is that we can collaborate with people from all over the world in all different countries. And we can bring together people that would never ordinarily meet. A frontline customer service agent working in India can be in a workshop with a customer service agent from North America, from the Philippines, from France, and also be working together with some of our IT team, our HR team, or other specialists that will be helping to facilitate that project. So it's that opportunity to connect and meet with people that you would never normally have the chance to, which is an exciting opportunity as well. And these missions are really designed to solve any problem. So, of course, we are looking at opportunities in the employee experience. So, taking feedback from our global survey, from our pulse surveys, from forums, and trying to solve those challenges and create better experiences for people. But we can also use this to solve problems in our customer journey as well. So, are there things that our associates are identifying that could help our customer? Are there pain points in the customer journey? Are there pain points with some of the tools and the systems that our customers are using? And how can we use our collective intelligence to redesign and improve that for our customers as well? And so the benefits of this are multiple. Primarily, this approach means that we can do more impactful work and create better solutions. So going back to my original point of being involved in all of these projects and initiatives and rollouts that never really moved the needle or changed anything significantly, by using this approach and co-designing and co-creating with your end user removes a lot of risk from your process and removes a lot of that gamble as well. And I think we've all been there, and I've certainly been there, when you're launching something out and you're crossing your fingers and hoping, God, I hope everyone likes it. I hope they get it. I hope it works. But if you're co-creating with your end user, then that risk and that gamble goes away, because you've created something that you know will work for them because they've helped you to design it. You can work faster and deliver much faster. And this is always a challenge for us internally, and it still is in some respects, because the perception from some people is, God, this is just going to take us so much longer. If we're inviting other people to co-create with us, if we're inviting all these other people in to have their opinions and share their ideas, it's going to take us forever to design our final product. But it isn't actually the case, because when you go through a structured process and a structured set of workshops and activities, you get there much faster, because you remove a lot of debate and conversation, and you have structured activities where you prioritize and vote on a way forward. And I think we've all been in those meetings where you talk and debate around what to do with something, and then you leave the meeting an hour, 2 hours later, and you've not actually resolved anything. So it does help you to work faster and deliver faster. And also you remove a huge amount of wasted effort on projects and initiatives and solutions that actually just don't work. Of course, it helps with innovation and creativity, because you invite in a lot of diverse perspectives from people from different cultures, different backgrounds, experience, functions, skills. And a lot of our missions don't require any particular knowledge or skill set. We're just inviting people to provide their feedback and input and ideas. And it's not often that they need something specific to do that. It's a very open, very democratic process. And by putting these missions out for anyone to participate in, means that you get perspectives from people that you wouldn't normally. Because if we are thinking about designing something, quite often we'll go and knock on the door of the people that we know best, that we tend to work with and collaborate with most closely, and say, what do you think? What are your ideas? But if you open this up for anybody to register to and to participate in, then you're going to invite in a huge diversity of thought and perspective and ideas. It's very effective in change management. because we know that if people are involved in the change, then they are more likely to understand it and endorse it. And the people that write the change don't fight the change. And so really effective if you're introducing new procedures, processes, tools to invite your people to help co-create that with you. And it helps with one of the biggest challenges with the feedback to action loop, which is this connection that our associates make between the actions that we take and the feedback that they gave. And that can be really difficult. And particularly in a big global organization, communicating to such a vast group of people is difficult. And if our associates are actually part of participating in creating that solution, then you remove that disconnect, that question mark over, well, are they actually acting on my feedback? Are they doing anything about it? And did this change over here, did that come from our feedback or my feedback? So you remove that. It creates a greater sense of belonging, and that's particularly important for us in a big global organization, and particularly because we are partnering with clients and our associates are very aligned to the client brand and the way the client works. And so this is a way for them to also feel very deeply connected to Foundever by being part of creating solutions and experiences. And that in turn can help them, our associates, to feel a greater sense of purpose and impact beyond their normal job role. And particularly, again, for our frontline associates in a role that can feel quite structured, quite controlled in a lot of ways, quite rigid, being able to participate in activities to really impact the work experience can really add to that sense of contribution. And so just to finish, does it work? What do we see in our data? Is this helping our employee experience? Well, if we just look at a couple of data points, we can see that the more our associates know about Max, the more familiar they are, the more involved they are in our employee listening program, in our mission process, the higher their engagement and their ENPS. And you can see in this graph, it's quite a significant difference in engagement levels, an over 70-point difference. So our people that are closer to it are much more engaged and satisfied. And we know the higher the engagement, the better the performance and ultimately the customer experience. And we're also maintaining year-on-year high ENPS scores of over 45, which is a great result for ENPS, and particularly in our industry, to maintain those high levels of satisfaction. And we also see it in our individual products and processes and projects, our ability to deliver them faster and more effectively. And one example of this is the building of our own internal intranet, which we built ourselves. It's not a product that we bought off the shelf. And we were able to build that and get a first version out within 12 days in the pandemic to meet the needs of our people. And being able to co-create and design with people enables us to do those kind of things quickly and effectively and deliver results. And so I just wanted to end on that last quote from Ben Witter, that just about co-creation. Ben Witter is someone who I read a lot. He's written some great books and he talks a lot about co-creation, and it really just sums up our approach at Foundever. So thank you. That was everything that I wanted to share.
Hi, Naomi. Apologies for that. I think I've removed that a little bit too quickly. So hopefully people had the chance to read that. Well, thank you so much for your presentation. There's so many things you've shared. I think it's so great to see and hear that Foundever is working so hard to make sure that they harness the voice of the people. So many associates you've got involved. So I think that's really great. I love the use of the word missions. I think that just inspires action. It just kind of accentuates that it's a bit daring. It's like come and join us, not just a boring a task at work. So I think that's a really, really great there. And I think so many organizations doing things at scale can be quite scary, can be challenging. But seeing your last slides with the results that you're achieving, it must be really rewarding to see how the levels of participation and satisfaction are rising at Foundever. If you had one piece of advice for organizations that are, collecting employee voice, they're doing surveys, they're doing things, and they just feel a bit stuck on how to implement that further, how to take that next step, and not to be afraid, what's your advice?
I think it would be just to start small and experiment. I mean, as I said, when we started out, we didn't have a technical solution. We didn't have this ability to push out these missions through an intranet. And so we were doing it, in an old school way. And I think my advice is just to start small, to take one piece of feedback, get a group of people that are always up for doing something different, that can be your kind of early adopters, and just work with them and do a little bit of co-creation. And it doesn't always go to plan. Sometimes we co-create and we design something and it doesn't work, but we find out quickly and we iterate and we change because we've got that input from associates in the moment, and they're part of it. So you find out very quickly that whether something is going to work or not. And so I think it's just to start small, not try to scale out something big in a big bang, but just take something and bring a load of people together in a room and see what comes out.
That's let's end there, because that's such a great piece of advice, I think, for everyone listening today. Start small and don't be afraid to test things, and you never know, you might just stop yourself from making the biggest mistake you could. So that's a really good advice there. Well, thank you so much for your time, Naomi, and we'll let you get with the rest of your day, and stay if you want to watch with us the rest of the sessions. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.